Hey guys, this is Teacher Elo and I'm here to explain what is grammar. Alright, so what is grammar? Grammar is the system and structure of a language, or how it works. That's the big part. So this is in any language. All languages have grammar, and it really is just how it works, what it sounds like, the spelling, what are the rules of the language. So what we think sometimes is in our own language there are mistakes you can hear. So sometimes you might be talking to somebody that doesn't speak your native language and they make a mistake and you hear it and you think, that was not correct. Right? So you can hear a mistake in your native language, and that is probably a grammar mistake. Okay, so where do we hear them? As you can see by this little guy here, we hear them a lot in children and of course in learners of a language. So we may hear a child in our native language make a simple mistake. Here's an example in English. So the English mistake could say, I taked the dog outside. I taked the dog outside. So this is a simple mistake, right? The child made the mistake of using take and not doing the irregular past tense. The child added ed. So the correct sentence would be, I took the dog outside. Right? So took is irregular spelling, and we would not say, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this child does not understand that take is irregular. We would not say that, right? We understand that the child doesn't understand the grammar at this point. They're learning, so they make small mistakes like this. And the idea is you take the grammar that you already know. So simple past is generally add ed to the end. So here he took take, added ed, taked, that makes sense, that is the rule. But because it's irregular, it's a mistake, right? But we want to remember, this doesn't mean people are not intelligent. It means they need to work on their grammar, right? People in all languages, we would not say a child is not intelligent for not knowing the irregular past tense of take. We would not say that. We would say, oh, he's learning, right? And you would try to help this child. So this is what it is when you're learning a language, right? The first time you start learning it, you're going to make many mistakes because you're using the grammar that you've already learned and you're adding it to new words. But once you start learning the language more with more time, you start to discover all the irregular rules, all the different spellings and pronunciations, and that's where you need to practice more and maybe talk to more people in this language so you can be aware of those different rules. Alright, so here's just an example of how grammar can affect pronunciation. And of course, pronunciation is a different topic, but sometimes grammar can also affect this. It can come into pronunciation, and this is part of where you hear the mistake. So you can see there's a correct on the left and the not correct examples on the right. So the first example is washed. Right, so again, simple past ed, but there's a different pronunciation, right? So if you know this rule, there are 3 different pronunciations for ed. So with wash, we do the t pronunciation. We say washed, and we do not say washed, right? So if somebody says washed, we know it's a mistake. So as a native speaker, I know there's a grammar mistake, a pronunciation mistake, and the student still needs to learn or practice more. The second example is read. Also, the past tense is irregular in this one. So for past tense, we say read, just like the color. the not correct example would be just saying it the same. So read, read for past tense. And that would be the pronunciation mistake there. At the bottom, I gave you 2 sentence examples, which are more advanced. So here you get to see 2 sentences. The correct one says, Frank had eaten breakfast before I arrived. And here we say eaten, which is can be a little tricky because it's the past participle. On the not correct side, we see Frank had ate breakfast before I arrived. So in this one, had ate is just a simple past, which sometimes we make small mistakes like this, and that could affect the pronunciation. However, I do want to remind you that the bottom 2 examples are very advanced, and oftentimes as a native speaker, I've heard many English speakers make the mistake. Frank had ate breakfast before I arrived. And it's okay. It could be just a different dialect of English, but it's understandable because it's a complex rule. We usually don't speak in such complex manners in English too often. So here, it's okay if you make these more complex mistakes sometimes, right? But the top 2 examples are more of beginning English examples. So you do want to practice those much more. So my recommendation, if you're more intermediate or advanced English student, make sure you understand the pronunciation for all the simple present, simple past, and the simple future to make sure you're not making those basic mistakes. Alright, so all of that to say, grammar is important. Yes, grammar is important. But grammar is only one part of a language. Okay, and in different videos we've talked about you need to practice reading, writing, listening, speaking, pronunciation, culture. There are so many parts to a language, and grammar is just one of them. If you know 100% grammar but you can't speak, there's still communication issues, right? But also the other way around. If you can speak very well but you make many grammar mistakes, there's communication issues, right? So you just want to have a good balanced way of studying. If you're very good at grammar, maybe you're not very good at speaking, you might want to find a friend or a classmate or somebody to help you with the pieces that you're missing, right? And here's some other examples of how you can improve your grammar. So if you're a student or you're taking classes or you're watching a YouTube video, you can always ask your teacher questions, right? And I know it's scary to ask a teacher a question, but that's the only way your teacher, your professor knows what is the problem. So just try your best to ask a question, or maybe send an email with the question, or talk to your teacher before or after class, or even just ask your classmate for help, because sometimes a classmate can explain it in a way that's good for you. Of course, you can watch videos or read lessons about grammar, and I've watched many YouTube videos with amazing teachers, and it's all free. Of course, there's some that you need to pay, but there are so many free lessons on websites, on YouTube, just free apps, so many things. So please take advantage of all those classes. Find a teacher, find somebody whose style you like, and just work with them. Alright, so like always, we have a quick practice here. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to pause your video and try to find the mistakes here. Okay, so I hope you paused it and have all the mistakes. We're going to go look at the answers now. Alright, so the first one, the answer is, my sister walks to school every day. Okay, so this is a mistake with the third person singular S, which is very, very common. So make sure you practice this one. Third person singular S. Okay, number 2, the answer is, the students are listening to the song. Okay, so here there's a missing to, right? So sometimes you have a verb like listen, drive, or go, and you need to say to if there's an object following it. So make sure you pay attention to this if you make mistakes with to. All right, number 3, the answer is, there is a lot of milk in my cereal. Okay, there is. This is a mistake with the count and non-count. So here we have the word milk, which is a non-count noun, which means it's a liquid, you cannot count it. So non-count nouns are always singular. So you need there is. All right, number 4, the answer is, we go to work in the morning. Okay, so number 4 and 5 have a star because they're more advanced. So in this case, we have a time phrase, which is breaking up the sentence. So you can't have it in the middle. So this is the option of putting your time phrase at the end of the sentence, or you can put the time phrase at the beginning of the sentence with a comma. So the second option would be, in the morning, comma, we go to work. All right, and the last one, number 5, the answer is, Lucy drove to the airport at 4 p.m. or 4 p.m. This one here, I took out the present perfect continuous and just put simple past because sometimes we don't have to make it too complicated. But you can have another option if you wanted to use the present perfect continuous. You could use Lucy has been driving to the airport since 4 p.m. or 4 p.m. So you would need to change at to since. So those are some rules that you want to pay attention with the time. Alright, so I hope you got a lot of correct answers, and if not, remember, practice, practice, practice. Alright, so that's it. That's the end of the video. Like always, thank you for your time, and please comment with any requests for future videos. Thank you.